ラジオ日経で放送している番組 ESG A to Z からのスピンオフシリーズ、私のウェルビーイング。今回はアメリカ、オーストラリアの生態経済学者でユニバーシティカレッジロンドングローバルプロスペリティ研究所教授のロバート・コスタンザさんに生物多様性やサステナビリティの視点からご自身が考えるウェルビーイングについて伺いました。
I'm Robert Costanza. I'm a professor of ecological economics at the Institute for Global Prosperity at University College London. My well-being. Yes. Well, my well-being is not independent of everyone else's well-being. And I think that's what people need to recognize. And not just other people, I think, but also the rest of nature. That our individual well-being depends on society, depends on our natural capital and the ecosystem services that we've been trying to quantify over the years. And so that connection, I think, is really important to make. We published a collection of chapters, a book entitled Toward an Integrated Science of Well-Being. And that tries to make this point that we need an integrated science of well-being, that it's not just about individual people, it's not just about communities, it's not just about countries, it's not just about the whole planet, it's about all of those things put together. And this requires a more whole systems perspective. You know, you have to look at the world as a system, not as just individual isolated parts. And so that's, I think that's what well-being needs to be conceived of. And it depends on all of our assets, you know, on the planet, all of the things that contribute to that well-being. And those involve not just individual people, not just our built infrastructure, which is certainly part of it, but also our social infrastructure, our social capital, all of our institutions, our governments, our networks, etc., all of the interconnections between people. It's really why humans are the dominant species on the planet today, is because of our ability to cooperate, to form societies, you know, to form a broader cooperative units, but also our natural capital. You know, everything in the world we didn't have to create, all of those things that do contribute to our well-being, but we sort of lost sight of how important those things are. So that's what we've been trying to do, is to emphasize that connection between our natural capital and our particularly the sustainability of our well-being. You know, that's our life support system. You know, if you think of the Earth as a spaceship, you know, we need to maintain the structure of that spaceship that supports us, and certainly all of our capital assets are important to do that. So that's what well-being means to me.
今日のお話を伺っておりまして、コスタンザ教授から新しいパラダイムという言葉が、何度か出てきました。新しいパラダイムということは、新しい価値観が必要という意味だと思います。その上で、コスタンザ教授が論文に書かれておりました GDP という今価値観が世界を覆っております。成長中毒という言葉もあったかと思いますが、その GDP に、変わる、価値観として、GPI ですとか HPI という言葉が、尺度ですかね、を取り上げておられましたが、それについて、もう少しお話をお聞かせいただけますか。
GDP was never designed to measure societal well-being. It only measures market activity. And some of that activity is positive and contributes to well-being, but some of it is actually negative, and we want less of it. You know, there's more crime, there's more GDP because there's more police, there's more security devices, but that's not something we want more of. And so we need to get beyond GDP as our primary policy goal and build a more comprehensive measure of sustainable and inclusive well-being. There is a lot of movement in that direction these days. So one of the measures that we've worked on is something called the Genuine Progress Indicator, which is a modification of GDP that tries to address some of those limitations. So it starts with personal consumption expenditures, but then it weights that by the distribution of wealth and income. So it takes into account inequality, because we know that more inequality leads to less ability to build social capital, it leads to lower societal well-being. It then adds a few things that are left out, like the value of volunteer work, the value of household labor, and it subtracts a bunch of things that shouldn't be counted as positive, like the cost of crime, the loss of natural capital, the cost of air and water pollution, climate change, etc. When you do that, for many countries, GDP and GPI track each other for a while after World War II till about 1980 or so, and then they start to diverge. GDP keeps going up, GPI levels off and starts declining. Why? Growing inequality, growing natural damages to the environment, essentially. And so we've been pursuing, the wrong goal. If we want genuine progress, we want real improvement in societal well-being, we need to start using different measures, different metrics of progress. And our genuine progress has really been stagnating for the last many decades. And I think that's what's led to some of the polarization that we see today in politics, that they're being told that, GDP is growing, everything's fine, but they're not seeing real improvement in their well-being. And so that dichotomy is really affecting people. So how do we get back on the right track? How do we get back on the track of improving well-being rather than just improving GDP? Well, part of it is measuring the right things. We're involved in a project funded by the European Union called Measuring What Matters, and there's a lot of interest in the EU, at least, in getting beyond GDP toward broader measures of well-being. So I think there's movement in the right direction. But like I said, it's going to take also overcoming our sort of lock-in or addiction to the current system, because a lot of our institutions are based on the fact that the economy is going to keep growing, and they sort of have positive reinforcement for that to happen. So it's going to take some therapy, I think.
ESG については、ラジオ日経第一で放送中の ESG A to Z でも学べますので、ぜひ番組もご覧ください。